All right. I hope you can still hear me. Can anybody confirm if they can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Apologies. The meeting timed out just as I was trying to answer the question. And we're trying to make sure that the recording was properly saved. Okay. So if you could please repeat your question so that I'm sure that I'm answering I'm giving the right answer to the question. Can you repeat your question, please?
Okay. All right. I'm still here.
All right, Simon.
Okay. So, yeah. So I was saying that in the course of application, I choose a particular university and a particular course. Then after that application, currently I'm trying to find a way to get admission to those universities and those courses that I choose. And some of them I'm discovering that they don't even have those courses readily. So the question is it possible to change to a totally different university and a different course after the scholarship is being awarded?
So yes, I recall, like I was trying to explain earlier, yes, it's very, very possible. Now, as far as the interview is concerned, I think what I was mentioning earlier is that just stick with what you have, for the application, okay? But when it comes to the schools, applying to the schools, and I would encourage every one of you here, don't just limit yourself to the 3 schools that you selected, okay, while you're trying to apply for the scholarship. Apply to as many approved schools as possible, okay? As many, so that you have like tons of options when you eventually get selected for the PTDF scholarship, okay? Because again, I'm still going to tell you that, there is still this Nigerian factor when it comes to, the scholarship process. So I'll give you an example of mine. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, that I got selected for the PTDF scholarship 13th or 14th of August. And my school was supposed to start, I think, 11th of September or so. So I had less than a month to make sure that I arrive in the UK, right? Now, most schools will tell you that they believe that it's late already, okay? Some schools accept January intake, which was what I eventually opted for. While some schools will tell you they would have to push it to next year, September, which is like the general, start date for most schools. So please apply to all their, in fact, as many approved schools as you can apply to. The only criteria is just that it must be an approved school. Now, what if the course you want to eventually do is like way different from what you had, on the application? That's not relevant, provided it is something that has an impact in the oil and gas industry. Please go for it. All right. Now, I'm talking specifically when it comes to applying to the schools. But as far as PTDF is concerned, up until the point you are awarded the scholarship, please stick with, the 3 schools you picked, whether they offer the course that you want or not. Just stick with what you picked, in the application process. So I hope that is clear. But yes, it's flexible. You can go ahead and apply to, different approved schools and different courses. So you can do that. All right. I think Francis Adedeji had spoken earlier. So please let me give some people, the chance to talk, then I'll come back to you. Francis Mayowa, please go ahead.
Hello.
Hi.
I thank you for this opportunity. I'm very, very grateful. My question is actually about the application stage. I was very confused because the SOP, when I was drafting my SOP, I actually drafted basically for a particular school. So actually, I was actually looking for a way someone can tell me what to do about it, but I could not reach you. but later on I sent you an email. You later replied after the closure of the 2 days. So I actually picked same school and actually picked same course for the 3. So I don't know if that is okay or not. Then my other question is, I studied electrical engineering, and I applied for my statement of purpose is actually based on IT security as regards to um, this OT and IT security, basically just cyber security, because I've gotten some certifications on cyber security. So my question is, do I bring those certificates I've gotten for the interview on cyber security? And that's my question. And one important thing is, I actually just finished my NYC, but actually someone gave me the link to register for PTDF. I was just reluctant about it, so I never thought I was going to get selected. So when registering, I actually used someone else's certificate, okay, because then mine was not ready. So I uploaded someone else's certificate, and I just feel that, okay, let's just see how it goes. And eventually I was selected. So during the 2 days for us to arrange everything, I tried to edit that, but there was no avenue for that. They didn't allow us. When I tried, they'll just bring back an error that you can't access this page. So, but now I have my NYC certificate now with me. So I don't know if that will cause something. So these are things I just want to know before the interview. Okay, thank you.
All right. So I mean, I think you uploading someone else's certificates is outrightly wrong. All right. But I'm not going to be in the position to say that would kind of disqualify you or not, because anyway, you've made it up until this stage. Okay. So what I would just encourage is that when you're going for the interview itself, fake your own NYC discharge certificate. Okay. They might ask for it, all right, just take it along. So the only thing I remember is that they'll probably just pull out your personal statements. I'm not sure all those documents would all the documents, your birth certificate, they wouldn't download it. Okay, it's just a personal statement because they're trying to ask you questions. Okay, now when you eventually get selected for the scholarship, which I'm hopeful you will be able to update all those documents. All right, because they would then have to flow into the documents that would be submitted for your visa processing.
Okay.
So I would say that just take along your original documents. Okay, when you're selected for the scholarship, if there is any back and forth, you can present them with your updated or with your
Okay.
discharge certificate, and then I think there's a way they'll be able to update that on their system, because once you get the scholarship, most of your visa processing, all your documents will be processed like on the portal. You get.
Okay.
So you might not be able to see somebody face to face, except if you go to Abuja. You might not be able to see someone face to face to say, oh, this is a mistake I made, oh, please help me, and all of that. But I think there's an option where you can still re-upload all those documents. You get, like afterwards. So I mean, don't beat yourself up, even though it was the wrong thing to do. Just take your own original certificates and the photocopy, and just in case they ask you. You get.
Okay.
So that's that. In terms of your personal statements, having like all the 3 schools being the same and all the 3 courses being the same, it doesn't change anything really. That's just your choice. Okay. So just flow with that when it comes to your conversation around your personal statement. So that's, you wouldn't get penalized for that.
All right.
Yeah. Did I answer all of your
you.
questions, or was it 3 questions?
Yes, you did. Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome. Egati Philip, please go ahead.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Thank you very much for what you're doing. It's really enlightening and everything. I got selected actually for PhD, and I chose Germany I'll begin my interview in Bauchi on 21st because I take my test
Can
for
you
2 weeks.
please increase your volume a little bit so I can hear you clearly?
Okay, I say I select Germany,
Yes.
France.
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but it's a bit faint actually.
Oh, let me see how I can improve my audio.
All right. Just let me know when
Hear me
you're.
now? Yeah, can
Yes,
you
I
hear
can
me
hear
now?
you. Yes, I can hear you.
I say I got selected for PhD, and my interview date is 21st of May in Bauchi. I applied Germany, France, and Malaysia. So I want to know now, is it going to be flexible if I am selected? Can I apply in either of the countries I've selected, or I should only base on the first choice, which is Germany? So can I apply to other universities in these three countries? In case I was selected and it's under Germany, will it be flexible? And another thing again is that, do I need to go to the interview with all my certifications, my publications, my membership and documents, my membership certificates of the association I belong to, my professional association, and then maybe a letter from my school, because I work with one of the state universities, with one of the universities in Nigeria? Do I need to go there with a letter from, say, the VC confirming that they will release me? Would that be an added advantage again, or what? So I just want to know, because this is the first time I was selected for this, and I must say thank you very much for all you're doing. I've been following you on YouTube, and your videos have been helpful. Thank you very much. I really appreciate this.
All right, thank you, Philip. So in terms of all the documents, I'm going to encourage, I mean, it's just my own personal opinion. I would encourage you to take the documents, okay? And that's because I think it's preferable that you take the documents and you're not being asked for any documents than for you to be asked documents and you're like, oh, I didn't bring it. And oftentimes than not, because of how it is structured, there is no follow-on interview process. This interview is actually the final communication from PTDF before you're selected for the scholarship, right? So you want to make sure that you pick all the documents. Of course, some of them you might have to just maybe make the photocopy, maybe not necessarily take all the original documents and all of that. But I would encourage you, any document you believe would add value to your, to your interview, or you believe that it's possible for my interviewer to ask me this or this, and you have the documents to prove it, sure, why not? I would encourage you to bring it. Now, of course, if they don't ask you, that's fine. But if they now ask you and then you're like, oh, I didn't bring it, or I forgot it at home, let me quickly go and print it, there isn't that luxury of time, really. And again, the kind of process that PTDF has, they don't have any follow-on interview, you know, any follow-on interview process to say, oh, you said you were going to send this document, you didn't send it. This is a portal that's been opened for you. Can you upload the document? You don't have that. All right. Then your second question, can you repeat your second question again? Just so.
Okay, my the first question actually,
Oh yeah.
it
Yeah.
was, I am saying I apply. My choice is Germany, France, and Malaysia. If I get selected, which I'm praying to, if I got selected, is it going to be flexible for me to choose either of the three countries, or it will be domicile? Say I was selected in Germany, I must be in Germany, and I must study in one of their approved university in Germany. Or I can still apply in some of their approved university in either France or Malaysia.
Yeah. So I know there was a conversation around that when we did our own orientation. All right. So I know there were 2 countries or 3 countries that they mentioned that they were still a bit flexible on. All right. Now this one is just speculation, so I'm not saying it's like categorically. I know for the UK, is UK. You can from UK switch to France or to Germany, but I would assume that France, Germany, and Malaysia, it's possible for you to switch across, those 3 countries. It's possible. But what I would encourage you is that don't wait till PTDF then comes back to you to say you've been selected. Apply to all the schools or as many approved schools as you can. All right. Either way, you don't have anything to lose. If PTDF comes back and says, it's only Germany, you have a Germany option, or it's only France or whatever, you have that option as well. So don't wait for PTDF to come back to you. But from what I can recall, I think there's a bit of flexibility around, France, Germany, and Malaysia. Okay. So please, I would encourage you to apply to those schools. Okay. Before I call the next person, there's a chat here. I haven't seen the date I'm supposed to have the interview, but they said 20 to 24 in my last email. Yes, I understand that. I mean, we're having a pre-conversation before the meeting started with some people that joined earlier, and someone mentioned that it did not get an email to that effect saying that this is the exact one, but he checked his application portal and he saw that like on his portal. So John, I'm going to encourage you, check your portal, and see if it's there. If not, again, still wait. Given that they've sent you an email saying that you qualify for the interview or you've been selected for the interview, you would always get like a follow-on. You'd always get like a follow-on, whether it's email or just keep checking your portal. You would see the date you're supposed to go to. So I've watched all your videos. Can you list the documents we need to go with? Okay, I mentioned this earlier during the meeting. All your documents, really, your WAEC certificate, your bachelor's degree certificate, your transcript, NYC certificates, research publications, which other one? Research publications, professional association membership, as many as you can, get your hands on. All right, print them. Okay, I would encourage you to also photocopy all those documents so that you can give them the photocopy while you keep the original. Okay, so those are the documents that you should take along. Francis Adedeji, yes, please.
All right, thank you. Yeah, concerning the photocopies, how many photocopies will you advise? 1. And second, does conference paper count as publications? Can I print my conference papers? I don't have official publication, but I have like conference proceedings, maybe like NSC conference, Industrial Self Engineering conference, technical meetings I presented there. Can I take those papers there? And also, okay, like the school for my personal statements now concerning the problem I actually want to solve in the oil and gas industry. Is it a must for you to just streamline to only one particular problem? Because my SOP is more like having like combining 2 problems together, trying to use a particular I'm trying to focus on like robotics, like to solve 2 problems together. But should I streamline it to one particular problem statement, even though my SOP is like a little bit sketchy in terms of that problem statement explanation? So I want to know about that. And now, since I chose robotics, and maybe I assume I get it now, can I switch back to aerospace? Because that's actually my real program. Like, but I know that aerospace also have like aerial robotics and stuff like that. So can I switch back to choosing schools back in aerospace and stuff like that? Yeah, so I think those are my questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I'll try and answer your question as much as I can recall. So first of all, in terms of the number of photocopies, I don't know. I think that's just up to you. Of course, if you can print maybe 2 or 3 per document, given that you typically have a panelist, interviewing you, I think that's fine. But of course, nothing too ridiculous like from 5, 10 per document. You don't need that. I think 2 is actually fine anyway, per document. That's one. Second of all, you can actually choose between you switching back to from robotics to aero. Sorry, that's not my field, but you can switch like I mentioned. Okay, now in terms of your problem statement, I would encourage you to focus on just one of them or the more prominent, of those 2 you mentioned, because you also don't want it to be like, so which one are you going for exactly? You don't want that question to be playing in the head of your interviewer. Okay, I know sometimes all these problem statements can be somewhat related, but just focus on one, all right, for the sake of the interview. Okay, just focus on one. Then yes, you can switch, back from aerodynamics, if that was what you mentioned, to robotics and all of that. You can switch depending on how you want it. All right, I hope I touched most of your questions. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can hear you.
All
I
right.
have a question.
Somebody mentioned I have a question. I'm not sure I saw who that person is.
Yes, it's me, it's Frank. I have a question.
All right. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Will the interview go into academic questions, like maybe you choose, like me, I choose process integration. Can it go into asking me academic questions, like, this kind of lecture, these academic chemistry questions, like from your experience?
Yes, the answer is yes, actually. The answer is yes. But again, I think the question will be based on the flow of conversation, really. So I recall one of my friend, who was in Anderson in Nigeria. I know she mentioned they asked her questions around, and she's a tax person. They mentioned, or they asked a question around transfer pricing and a number of technical questions. So that's a possibility. All right, that's a possibility. So I would encourage, but it would most likely be something relating to your professional experience, oftentimes than not. So I'm not sure somebody is going to ask you like, what is accounting, okay, or something like that, like all those stuff you've learned since your 100 level, and they're trying to test you whether your first class is real or your 2-1 is real or not. No, they're not going to do that. It's going to be like along the lines of your conversation, okay? So that's why you want to make sure that your answers are carefully chosen, so you don't shoot yourself in the foot, okay? Choose whichever one you cannot really substantiate. Just be open, and don't try to give an answer that you don't know. All right, it makes you look funny. All right, and then it also affects your perception with the interviewer. So please just stick with the conversation, really. But it's a possibility that you ask technical questions. Yes. So I'm going to go to the chat just now. I don't have my transcript with me because I reached out to my school concerning that, but they said I should only give them the email of the school I'm applying. But I have seen my semester result. Can I use them as a transcript? So I would assume, I'm not sure what you mean by I should only give them the email of the school I'm applying. Okay. But if what you're talking about is your statement of results, yeah, your statement of results should still or can still be used in lieu of your official transcript. Okay. Now, don't also forget that they've not selected you for this scholarship. So most of those documents, depending on what the situation is, they would still accept that. But of course, you would then need your transcript and your degree certificate when you're trying to apply for your visa and all those stuff. So if that is what you have, your semester results and all of that, yeah, sure, you can go ahead with that. So yes, Ahmad Ibrahim, I saw your hands up. Are you still trying to ask another question?
Yes, sir, I'm the one that chats you just now concerning transcripts.
All right.
I only have my statement of results.
Yeah, that's fine. Please go ahead with the statement of results. You won't be penalized because of that.
Okay. Yes, sir. Currently, hello, sir.
Yes, please.
Currently, I'm working. Should I state that one during my interview? I don't know.
So when you say you're working, like, what does that mean?
Yes, like I'm into a job currently now. After graduating from school, I have my job that I'm doing now.
If you're done with your NYSC, are you done with your
Yes,
NYSC?
sir. Yes, sir, I'm done with it.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, they expect you to be doing something at this stage, really.
Yes,
so it's not, if your conversation, sort of drifts along that path, like what's your work experience and all of that. Yeah, sure, you're currently doing X and X and all, you get, and all of that. So yes, that's fine actually. Ishak Abdul Kadi. Apologies if I didn't pronounce that correctly. Please go ahead with your question.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Please, my question is, I'm applying. I've been shortlisted for the PhD listening program, so but I don't have publications. So I just want to know whether this will affect my chances, or maybe you have any advice I would do to complement that gap that since I don't have the publication. Any advice on that?
All right. My advice is that don't worry that you don't have a publication. That's my advice. And I'll just repeat some of the things I mentioned earlier on during the Q&A session. Okay. So there are a number of factors that go into the people who would eventually be selected, all right, for the PTDF scholarship. Now, all these questions we've talked about in this 30 minutes or 45 minutes or so, they are the point-based angle part. And, say, for example, you have a first class, fine. It doesn't mean those who have 2-1 or 2-2 would not be selected. Let's say you had like all A's in your WAEC results or your O-level qualification. It doesn't mean those who did not have A's would not be selected. Let's say, for example, you have research publications. It doesn't mean those who do not have research publications will not be selected. So it's an aggregation of a number of factors, really. And let's also not forget the fact that there's also the part of all the states must be represented. Okay, all the 36 states, including Abuja, must be represented in terms of those who would eventually come out as scholars, right? So there's no need to bother about what you don't have, really, at least so you would know. You even got to the interview stage. And I'm sure there are some people who have research publications who did not even get to this stage. So don't bother about what you don't have. Just focus on you presenting what you have, all right, in a way that it is convincing to the interviewer, excuse me, that you should be selected for the scholarship. So that's just my basic advice for you. Ignore what you don't have, focus on what you have and how you can present what you have. So yeah, that's pretty much going to be my advice for you. All right, do we have any other question? Okay, for those of you that missed the earlier bit of the Q&A session, I'm going to upload this video on YouTube tonight, so you can just go back to it. And if you have any follow-on question, you can drop it on the comment section, of the YouTube video, or you can send me an email or chat me up on my social media platform. I'm going to do my best to try and answer that. Okay. So any other question?
Hello,
all right,
sir.
Simon. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes. Sorry, a quick one. Thank you, sir.
No.
So my question is still on admissions. What happens? Is there a duration of time that this scholarship spans on? What happens if you don't get an admission almost immediately? Is there a duration of time that they will give you must source for your admission before so time before your scholarship expires?
All right, so thank you for that question. So here is the thing. PTDF will probably get back to the selected scholars by August, between mid to end August, right? And they expect that some people will start by September. Okay. Now I know there's a possibility for you to defer your scholarship for a maximum of 1 academic session. So that would mean that between now and September 2025, you should have gotten an admission. Okay, so that's if you want to put it deadline or whatever, that's the maximum time you have to start your academic program under the PTDF scholarship. Okay, and this is something I've actually always mentioned in my videos, that don't wait for PTDF to get back to you. All right, just keep sending your applications to the schools right now. Okay, now even if you're unable to meet up with this September, at least you have your admission. You have your admission, and then if you're not able to meet up, you can then defer to next year, which is like the maximum time period that you have to start your admission or your program rather. So yeah, that's it. Again, just to also drum it, please start applying to the schools if you've not already applied. Okay, now even if you've applied to the schools, I feel like it works both ways, because if they then come back to you to say, oh, you've been admitted, you're supposed to pay 10%, I don't know, 10% acceptance fee as part of your tuition, you can send them this letter, saying I have been invited for, a fully funded scholarship. I'm just waiting for the final selection and all of that. And most of them, because they are approved schools, if not all of them, because they are approved schools, they have relationship with PTDF. They will be able to waive whatever requirements, that they have to waive for your sake. All right, in the hope that you will be selected for the scholarship. Okay, so please don't wait till PTDF comes back in August. Like, that's already late, and then you now have to start another admission, process again. Like, it's intimidating. It's better for you to have the admission now, and then you defy it to next year. Do you understand? Now, for you to now wait till the end of this cycle, and then you're now starting, for the next academic cycle and all of that. So please apply to as many as possible, and do that like immediately or as early as possible. Okay, I read somewhere that your bachelor's degree final year project could stand in for a publication. Is that possible? Well, I don't think so. Okay, this is just my personal opinion, because if not, then there wouldn't be that criteria to say, do you have a research publication? Because that's not even supposed to be a question in the first place. Then it's just for all of us to assume that we all have research publications. So your bachelor's degree cannot unnecessarily substitute like publication. Now, I know that people use like their final year project to turn it into a research publication. I know people do that, and I've also done that. One of my master's degree projects, I actually turned it to a research publication, that was published in Brazil, and all of that. But that in itself does not mean that it's a research publication. Okay, yes, it's possible they ask you question around your final year project, what it is. That's but I'm not sure that qualifies to replace, a research publication. So I hope that answers your question, Wong. Abraham says, I didn't change anything on the 2 days margin because the interview location I saw was the preferred location. Does it affect the reason I haven't seen an interview date? All right, I answered this question earlier. If you did not get any email from PTDF saying that, this is the date and this is the location, just check your portal. Check your portal. Keep checking your portal. All right, you'll be able to see the exact interview date. I know, I think it was John that mentioned he couldn't see his earlier, and I think he checked his portal and he can see the date and the interview location. So just keep checking. Provided they've sent you an email saying that you've been selected for the interview, I think it's just a little bit of time. You would be able to see your interview dates. And of course, I know you said you've seen your preferred location, but the interview dates. Okay, any other question? I'm hoping that we don't have to rejoin the meeting again just now. Okay, so it's showing we have less than 10 minutes. So please, if you still have any question, you can signify or drop it in the chat box if you still have any question. So I'm going to wait for about 2 minutes before we wrap up the Q&A session. So if you still have any question, please signify. And please, when this video is posted, please share it on your respective platforms. All right, let's do it to get this across to as many people as we can. Okay, that will be how you get to help me help you, in that sense. All right. So yeah, I assume that's going to be the end of the Q&A session. I would like to especially thank you for taking your time out, to attend this Q&A session. Okay. Is somebody saying something?
Question,
Okay, Wang is saying, I don't know who Wang bot is, but he's saying, does best graduating student count as an award? How are they expecting it to be shown? Of course, yes, it's an award. So I would assume that there should be I don't know whether it's a plaque or whatever you call it. So I remember during my own time, there was a plaque they gave me that I just screenshotted or something. I can't remember, but I know there was a plaque. While some people, they give them a certificate, If there is any evidence to show that, that would be pretty much helpful.
Okay, sir. But the
they did not give me a certificate. They just gave me like 10,000 naira. Or they just
You
called
can
me and just gave me the
you
envelope
cannot
of it. So I
photocopy
don't
the
know.
10,000. Anyway,
Yes,
so
I
again,
cannot.
so I'd assume like during your graduation, there's this this book they give that shows like the number of people that finish in first class, 2, 1, 2, 2. If there was a bit where they wrote your
Yes.
name as the best graduating student or something, yeah, I think that's if that's what you have, that suffices basically. Okay, that should suffice.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. John
Thank you,
Frank,
sir.
that would be the last question I have to take because of time. If you have any follow-on question, like I mentioned, just do well to send me an email, or when I post this video, you can just send me a message and I will do well to answer your question. All right, John Frank, your question, please.
Yes, what do you say about how to comport yourself that day? Like how to talk to them from your experience. How do you comport yourself? How do you answer the questions? Are you supposed to be rushing or I just wanted to share on that, like how
All
to
right.
go.
Okay, so that one is, so just see it as you're trying to interview for a job. So I've talked about the comportment from the dressing part, dress official basically. In terms of the question, don't tell what is not, or don't lie when it comes to the answers you're giving. Be real. Now, some people say you should follow the STAR approach. The STAR approach simply means that you're talking about what the situation is, what the task you were given, what the action was, and what the result is. All right, that's the approach. But I mean, different questions would typically warrant different answers. But I would say be real. All right, don't exaggerate. Okay, because for the most part, one or more person in the panelists would oftentimes than not be in the same field as yours. Okay, so they will be able to say, this one is not correct, or they will be able to deduce that they're just overblowing your ego, in that sense. So just be real. I think that's the comportment, and don't, whatever they do not ask you now, don't make any funny compliments as well. That's still part of comporting yourself. All right, don't get to the I like your suit, or I like your earring, or you smell nice. Now, as far as Nigeria is concerned, that's not something you can say to an interviewer. If you travel abroad, that might be taken as a compliment, but definitely not Nigeria. All right. So please, somebody is saying adding to the last question, is it okay to feel free to like gist? Please don't, except if the interviewer is the one driving that. Okay, or like tell me more about yourself. You can talk about that, but don't gist. You're not there to gist. You're there to collect the scholarship. You get, so just leave it like that. Okay, so I hope that has answered your question. I'm trying to be conscious of time. Okay, any follow-on question, please ask me on YouTube or send me an email. Once again, I'd like to say a big thank you. And if you're having issues with securing admissions and all of that, now I know that people secure admissions, but if there is any question you have, as regards admission process and all of that, you can send me an email or whatever, and I would, especially if you're in the UK, to a large extent, I can, provide like a bit of guidance as to how to go about securing admissions and all. Okay, thank you very much for your time. Really do appreciate you. This meeting will be uploaded on YouTube just now. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm hopeful. It is my hope that I get to see some of you. All right, especially for those in the UK or who selected the UK, that I get to see some of you physically. Okay, and please, if you've been selected, just message me. All right, so we can have a Q&A session possibly for the selected scholars. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. All right.